September is here and fall is on the horizon, and I thought this would be a good time to wrap up the books I had picked for my summer book stack and find out if my 5-star predictions were 5 stars. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome to my reading life and welcome to my summer wrap-up video. Today I am going to go through the books that I picked on my summer book stack and find out, did I read them? Did I not read them? Did I DNF any of them? And then we're going to go through the 5 books that I predicted were going to be 5-star reads for me, and we'll find out, were they 5 stars? Did I actually read any of them? So stay tuned and we're going to go through all the summer reading wrap-up details. If you haven't seen my summer book stack video or my 5-star predictions video, you can pause this video right here and head down to the description box below where I have both of those videos linked. I will also link them up in the cards and you can click there and go through and watch those videos if you haven't seen them or if you need to remind yourself which books were featured in each of those videos. But I'm going to go through all of the books right now, so if you haven't seen those, you can watch this and then always go back to those later if you so desire. But I thought I would start off first with the books from my summer book stack. Now, I picked 15 books that I wanted to read this summer, and these were all just possibilities, but they were books that I was feeling drawn to at the time I filmed that video, and I thought it would be fun to go back and see just how well I did making my way through that stack of books. All of those books are books that had been on my shelves for, I think they were all on my shelves prior to 2025, though there may have been a few that were on there that were new books to me. But regardless, they were all books I wanted to read this summer. And without further ado, let us go through them. So I'm just going to give you some quick stats first, and then I will list off all of the books and let you know whether I read them, whether I did not read them, whether they maybe were DNFs or books I decided not to read. So of the 15 books, I read 7 of them, which I'm actually really happy with. So that was almost just about half. If I read half a book more, which I sort of did, because I did have one book that I started and then decided to DNF. So technically 8 books have come off of my summer book stack and off of my unread shelf, and that feels really good. And then there are, of course, 7 books which I did not read this summer. And let us just quickly go through these books. I think of the books that I've read, I have, I believe, reviewed all of these in other wrap-up videos. So I will also link those in the description box below if you want to hear more of my thoughts on each of the individual books. But the first book that was on my list was Sarah, Plain and Tall by Patricia McLaughlin. This is a middle grade book. I did read this. I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. I'm so glad I read it, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the books in this series. Next up, I read Thimble Summer by Elizabeth Enright. This was another middle grade book and another one that I very much enjoyed. It wasn't quite a hit the way Sarah, Plain and Tall was, but I very much enjoyed it. It felt very nostalgic, a lovely, lovely summer read. Next on my list was Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, and I didn't get to this one this summer, so hopefully it's going to make it onto next summer's book stack. We shall see. If you've read Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, please let me know if I should prioritize that for summer of 2026. And next was another middle grade, which was Until Tomorrow, Mr. Marsworth by Sheila O'Connor. And I buddy read this with my lovely subscriber, Jen, and we very much enjoyed this. This is set during the Vietnam War. It's an epistolary novel, and I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it going in, but I actually ended up really enjoying it, and I definitely recommend it. I think it'd be a great middle grade book for today's kids to read about, to understand how divided our country was during Vietnam. So really, really well done book. Next up is Voices in Summer by Rosamund Pilcher. Oh, it just kind of kills me that I did not get to this summer, but editing Jen popping in here to say that I had Voices in Summer confused with The End of Summer by Rosamund Pilcher, and I did read Voices in Summer. That was the book that I shared in my summer reading vlog, and I will link that video here for you if you would like to check it out. But I absolutely love that book, and I can't believe I got it confused. So, to be fair, I actually read 8 books off of my summer book stack, DNF'd 1, and I only have 6 that I didn't read. So disregard what I said about Voices in Summer here because I had it confused with another book. I just sort of ran out of time. I'm gonna have to put a different Rosamund Pilcher on my TBR for the autumn months because I'm just always in the mood for Rosamund Pilcher. And I just had other books for buddy reads and group reads and things, and time escaped me. And then next was The Swiss Summer by Stella Gibbons. I did read this, and this book was a bit of a miss for me. Didn't love it. I haven't wrapped this one up yet, so stay tuned for my next reading wrap-up, which will be coming out very soon, and I will give you all the details about why this didn't quite work for me. Next up on my list is Mrs. Lorimer's Quiet Summer by Molly Clavering, and this was one of the books from my 5-star predictions, so I am not going to talk about this at the moment. I'm going to save it for my 5-star prediction wrap-up in just a few minutes. Next was One Afternoon by Sean James. This was a Persephone book, and I was so pleasantly surprised by this book. It was amazing. I described it as a cross between Rosamund Pilcher and Laurie Colwin, and I can't think of higher praise for it than that. This is a new favorite of mine. I absolutely loved it. Next up was Still Life by Sarah Winman. This book has been on so many summer TBRs since I first got it a few years ago, and I still haven't read it, and it's killing me because I have a feeling I'm going to love it. I just managed to not get to it every summer, so maybe next summer will be the summer of Still Life. And then my next book is Daughter of Molokai by Alan Brunert, and again, this is another book from my 5-star predictions video, so details on this one will be coming in just a moment. And then I had The Hunter by Tana French. Did not get to this one either. Darn it. I was really hoping to read this one again, but perhaps next summer. It's set during a heat wave, so it really feels like a good book to read in the summertime. Need to prioritize it next year. And then the next book was Miss Silver Comes to Stay by Patricia Wentworth. And I did not read this, but this was purposeful because I actually have put this on my September TBR because I was told this is a better book to read in the fall months. And I am planning to read it in September. I think it'll make a good book for Spinster September. Plus, it was from my Small Home Comforts book box last September, so it seems fitting that I read it this September, finally. Very much looking forward to my first Miss Silver mystery. I've heard so many good things. The next book is August Folly by Angela Thirkle, and I really, really wanted to read this and continue on with Angela Thirkle's Barsetshire Chronicles, but it didn't happen, alas. I may have to make an exception and not read this one in August because I don't want to wait until next August to read this one. So, you know, I don't always have to read books seasonally. I can read them whenever. So this is going to have to be one of those books. Maybe I'll just sneak it onto my September TBR. September's close enough to August, right? And the next book on my summer book stack was Florence Adler Swims Forever by, the author is escaping me. I didn't write it down on my list, and I have since given this book away because I ended up DNFing it. I started to listen to the audiobook because my library had the audiobook on Libby. And after about the 2nd chapter, I realized that this was not a book for me. And that is because Florence Adler dies in like the 1st chapter. And then the family decides to keep this information from her pregnant sister. So they're going to lie to her because she has a pregnancy that's at risk, and so she's on bed rest and she's not supposed to be agitated. And I understand that, but that feels emotionally manipulative to me, and I dislike books that do that. So I had to set this one aside. If that doesn't bother you, this might be a book that you might be interested in. I can't say either way because, like I said, I only read the first couple of chapters and then I decided it wasn't for me. So I'm passing it along to someone else and hopefully they will enjoy it. And then the final book on my summer book stack was And Ladies of the Club by Helen Hooven Santmyer. And again, this was another book from my 5-star predictions, and we're going to talk about those right now. So those were the 15 books that were on my summer book stack. And yes, I feel pretty good about how many of those I actually got through this summer. So give myself a little pat on the back. And now it is time to go through my 5-star predictions. So I had picked 5 books, these 5 books right here, and I was pretty sure that these were going to be 5-star reads for me. And now we are about to find out whether I was correct or not. And the first book that I had picked for my 5-star predictions was the one I just mentioned, And Ladies of the Club by Helen Hooven Santmyer. Alas, this book I did not read. I started it and I did get, I don't know, I think I only got about 80 pages in or so, and I kept getting distracted from it. And I was interested in it, but I wasn't fully drawn in yet. I feel like this is one of those books I was having trouble keeping all of the characters straight, and I felt like I needed more time with this book, and I just felt like I didn't have that this summer. And because I didn't want the reading experience of this to be influenced by the fact that I just didn't have the time to dedicate to it, I decided to set it down, and I'm going to try again. Actually, I might pick this up in the springtime next year. I'm thinking, or maybe even the winter. I'm feeling like maybe this is a chunky book that I need to have a good amount of downtime to sit with and read. And sometimes my summers just, they don't end up being that way as much as I would like them to be. So I still have high hopes for And Ladies of the Club, but I did not get to this one. So I know so many of you told me you love this, and I do think I'm going to love it too. This apparently just wasn't the summer for it. Hopefully next year. And the next book on my 5-star predictions was Mrs. Lorimer's Quiet Summer by Molly Clavering. And drumroll please, this one got 5 stars from me, as I knew it would. This was the one that I was 150% sure I was going to love this. I have loved every Molly Clavering book. Well, the other 2 Molly Clavering books that I've read so far. Now I've read 3 of her books. Loved them all. Highly recommend them. This one is apparently the most autobiographical, and our 2 main characters in this are based on Molly Clavering and her friendship with D.E. Stevenson. What is not to like? And I actually love that this book, the title is quite the misnomer, because it is anything if A Quiet Summer for Mrs. Lorimer. Her grown children descend on the household with their children and spouses, and just chaos ensues. And so this was so much fun. I love Molly Clavering's writing and can't wait to read more, but I definitely recommend this one. It was so good and a great summer read. Next up was a book that should have been in my summer book stack, but wasn't, and that was our July pick for the Cozy Reader Book Club, which was Auntie Mame by Patrick Dennis. I had very high hopes for this one because I absolutely love the movie version of this book with Rosalind Russell. It is fantastic. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. But the book fell just a little bit short for me. One, Rebecca and I both think that perhaps this wasn't the best pick for the Cozy Reader Book Club because it's not all that cozy of a book. It's much more of a romp, and there are definitely some things that Auntie Mame gets up to that are not cozy. And while she's quite the character, I did find reading this cover to cover, because each of the chapters is really a story unto itself, because they were originally published as like magazine stories, and then it was finally published as a book. And you can definitely get that sense that each chapter is kind of just its own story, its own little vignette, and this is maybe one of those books you could just put on your nightstand and then just pick it up and read it when you were in the mood for it. I have the sequel to this on my shelf still, and I think when I do get to it, I probably will read it in that way rather than just sitting down and reading it cover to cover. I obviously liked some of the stories more than others, and Auntie Mame, some of her antics did sort of get a little bit stale after a while for me. So this was a solid read, but it was by no means 5 stars. I'm glad I read it, but this is one of the only times I'm going to say, watch the movie, don't read the book. And then my next 5-star prediction is Daughter of Molokai by Alan Brennert. And I took this with me when my family went to Kauai this summer, and it was absolutely perfect to read while in Hawaii, even though a lot of this book takes place in California. So kind of took me a little bit back home while I was away from home, which was also lovely. But there is some of it set in Hawaii too. And this is the sequel to Molokai, which I definitely recommend reading first before you read this one. But I just adore Alan Brennert's writing. I think he is a fantastic historical fiction author. Definitely underrated. If you have never read him before, I highly recommend picking him up. You can start with either Molokai or Honolulu, which is just a standalone novel. Either of them, they're both excellent, as is Daughter of Molokai. 100%, 5 stars, if not more. I loved it. I just whipped through it. It's a little worse for wear because it got, I took it with me to the beach and it got a little salt water and sand on it and in it. And, but, oh yes, and that's right, I forgot. Where'd that go? I pressed a plumeria flower from our, the resort that we stayed at. So I will always have a little bit of Hawaii in Daughter of Molokai to keep with me for always. So highly recommend. And then my final 5-star prediction is the book that my Book Jenny's Patreon group picked for our read along in July, and that was Fear Stalks the Village by Ethel Lena White. And I really, really loved The Wheel Spins by Ethel Lena White, which was a fantastic mystery. And so I had very, very high hopes for this one. It is about poison pen letters being sent to the residents of this particular village, and we meet sort of all of the characters in the village. And this just didn't quite live up to my expectations of it. It was a little bit slow going and kind of confusing at first to keep everybody straight. And the way the mystery sort of works out, there's a lot of psychological drama going on here, and that part of it was interesting, but it just wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. So it was definitely a solid mystery. And if you're reading through the British Library crime classics, I definitely would say go ahead and read this. But it wasn't a favorite. And if you're going to try an Ethel Lena White mystery, then I definitely think start with The Wheel Spins. It's a much stronger book than this one is. And I think this was written a little bit earlier in her writing career when she was first getting into mysteries, and you can kind of tell. So this was a good mystery, but not a great one. So of my 5-star predictions, only 2 were actually 5 stars. I didn't do a very good job. Well, I mean, technically I didn't read one of them, so of the 4 I did read, 50% were 5 stars. So I guess that's not too bad, right? Percentage-wise. Okay, I can live with that. And that wraps up my summer reading, the books from my summer book stack, along with the 5-star predictions and how all of that turned out. It was a very good summer of reading for me, actually. I read some really wonderful, wonderful books, and I had really a lot of fun picking the books for my summer book stack. And I'm going to be doing something kind of similar for autumn. I'm going to be pulling some books off of my shelves that feel autumnal to me and sharing them with you all, and I have a feeling quite a few of them will end up being books that I do read in the autumn months, so stay tuned for that. That will be coming. And I know many of you expressed interest in me doing that. So as I said, that will be coming out very soon. And let me know if you enjoyed me doing some 5-star predictions, because I would absolutely do that again if it's something you would like to see. I could maybe pick my 5-star predictions for the last quarter of 2025. So the books I'm thinking about reading in October, November, December. Let me know if you'd be interested in seeing that, and we can do this again. It was very fun to see how good I was at predicting which books would be 5 stars. I was okay at it. 50%. I was half right. Let's chat down in the comments if you have anything you'd like to add about the books I did or did not read this summer. And I'd love to know what you read this summer. What was a standout book that you read over the summer months this year? I always love hearing about what you guys have been reading. And if you're here but you don't have anything that you'd like to add, but you want to let me know that you were here, because comments really do help my channel, why don't you leave one last summery emoji down in the comments below. Sunshine, a beach scene, something tropical, water, swimming, whatever it is that you would like to put in the comments to let me know that you were here. I really do love seeing those emojis, and as I said, it really does help my channel. And if you enjoyed this video, if you could hit that like button and subscribe if you aren't already subscribed, I would love to have you join my bookish community. And as a reminder, if you are interested, I am going to be doing a read-along of The Queue by Beth Brower in September, and there is still plenty of time to join. You can join my Discord, which is linked down in the description box below, and I will be doing a live stream wrap-up of The Queue on Friday, September 29th at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and I would love to see you there. And thank you again to those of you who pushed the super thanks button on my last video. I so appreciate that little bit of extra support. And thank you to all of you for being here, for taking time out of your day to spend it with me here in my cozy corner of BookTube. And I'll be back with another video very soon. Bye!